In the early 1900s, a quiet farm on the outskirts of LaPorte, Indiana, became the backdrop for one of the most disturbing murder sprees in American history. Behind the doors of that modest farmhouse lived a woman whose crimes would shock the nation, a woman whose charm, cunning, and cold-blooded brutality earned her the title, America's Deadliest Black Widow. Her name was Belle Gunness. And what investigators would uncover after her disappearance remains one of the darkest mysteries in true crime. Belle Gunness was not born in the United States. Her story begins in Selbu, Norway, in 1859. Born Brynhild Paulsdatter Storseth, she grew up in hardship. Poverty shaped her worldview early, and by her late teens, Belle was reportedly already known for her toughness, and an unsettling willingness to do whatever it took to survive. Some accounts claim she was assaulted by a wealthy man, leading to a miscarriage. According to local stories, the man soon died under mysterious circumstances. Whether true or folklore, these stories would foreshadow the woman she would later become. In 1881, she emigrated to America, like thousands seeking a better life. But Belle was not looking for opportunity, she was looking for advantage. She understood two things very well. Men were vulnerable, and money could be made from their deaths. Belle settled in Chicago and married a man named Mad Sorensen. The couple opened a confectionery store, but it struggled financially. When tragedy struck, Belle seemed to be the only one who benefited. Their shop caught fire and burned to the ground. The insurance company paid Belle generously. Then, in 1900, Mad Sorensen died. Belle claimed he had suffered from an enlarged heart. But the family doctor had a different suspicion: strychnine poisoning. Unfortunately, he lacked evidence to prove it. But what Belle did have was life insurance. 2 policies, both active on the day Mads died. She collected them both. With 2 suspicious incidents behind her, and a small fortune at her disposal, Belle relocated to LaPorte, Indiana. The quiet town had no idea what was coming. In LaPorte, Belle purchased a large farmhouse and surrounding land. She arrived with 3 children, Myrtle, Lucy, and Philip, though the origins of one of them remain suspicious. Some believe Belle murdered the mother and stole the child. But the most important addition to the home was a man named Peter Gunness. A hard-working butcher, Peter seemed like a secure choice for Belle's next husband. Within 1 week of the wedding, tragedy struck again. Belle reported that a sausage grinder fell from a high shelf and crushed Peter's skull. Investigators were skeptical. Locals whispered that Belle had murdered him. Even Peter's older daughter claimed to have seen Belle kill her father. But before the little girl could speak further, she disappeared. Her body was never found. Yet again, Belle collected insurance money. And yet again, she walked away with no consequences. By 1905, Belle had perfected her method. She began placing ads in Norwegian-language newspapers around the Midwest. The ads were simple but effective. Belle presented herself as a wealthy widow seeking companionship, partnership, and marriage. Dozens of men responded. Belle instructed them to bring only cash. No documents. No relatives. No return tickets. Many men arrived at the Gunness farm. Almost none ever left. Neighbors noticed a pattern. Men would come to the farm with suitcases full of clothing and money. They would walk through Belle's front door, hopeful, optimistic, ready to start a new life. But the next day, Belle would be seen burning large piles of trash behind the barn. Thick smoke rose from the hog pen. A foul smell lingered. When asked about the missing men, Belle always had a story. They left in the night. They found work out west. They changed their minds. And remarkably, the town believed her. Every killer eventually makes a mistake. For Belle, that mistake came in the form of Ray Lamphere, a hired farmhand who became infatuated with her. Ray saw things no one else saw. Late-night digging. Heavy trunks. Men entering the house and never coming out. Belle feeding hogs at unusual hours. Fires that burned too hot for simple trash. When Belle dismissed Ray, he became a problem. Someone who knew too much. Someone who might talk. And Belle Gunness never allowed loose ends. On April 28, 1908, the Gunness farmhouse erupted in flames. When the fire was extinguished, 4 bodies were found in the basement, 3 children, and a headless woman believed to be Belle Gunness herself. But something was off. The body thought to be Belle was significantly shorter and weighed far less than she did. Neighbors insisted it wasn't her. Ray Lamphere was arrested and charged with arson. During his trial, shocking details emerged. Ray claimed Belle had murdered over 40 men, buried some in the hog pen, and fed others to her pigs. But the most chilling detail was this. Ray insisted that Belle faked her death, and escaped. After the fire, investigators began digging around the farm, and what they found confirmed the horror. Bodies. Everywhere. Some fully buried. Some dismembered and scattered. Some so decomposed they could not be identified. The remains of at least a dozen men were recovered, though estimates suggest the number could be far higher, potentially 40 or more. One victim had been dismembered so cleanly that investigators believed Belle had butchered the body with expert precision, likely using her late husband's tools. Among the victims were Andrew Helgeline, who had come to marry Belle after sending her thousands of dollars. Olaf Lindblom, a young man seeking a new start. John Moe, who vanished after showing Belle his savings. And numerous, unknown, men whose identities were lost forever. The press went wild, calling Belle a female Bluebeard, the mistress of Murder Hill, and America's Black Widow. But behind the headlines remained one eerie truth. The killer was nowhere to be found. Ray Lamphere, before his death in prison, made a confession to a minister. He claimed Belle had staged the fire using a body double, a housekeeper or drifter she murdered for the purpose. According to Ray, Belle withdrew large sums of money, hired a woman who resembled her, killed the woman, placed the body in the basement, set the house on fire, and fled into the night. Some believe she traveled west under a new name. Others think she resettled in a Norwegian community far from Indiana. Over the years, sightings were reported in Michigan, Chicago, and even California. But none were ever confirmed. Belle Gunness entered history as one of the deadliest female serial killers America has ever known, a woman whose greed, deception, and cunning left dozens dead. But what haunts investigators today is not just the number of victims. It's the silence surrounding her fate. Did she die in that fire? Or did she walk away, free, unpunished, and ready to kill again? More than a century later, the ground where Belle Gunness lived and killed is quiet. The farmhouse is gone. The graves have been exhumed. But the shadows she left behind remain. Her victims never got justice. The truth never found daylight. And Belle herself, if she survived, became a ghost long before she died. This is the story of Belle Gunness. One of America's darkest nightmares. And the chilling reminder that true evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes, it looks like a mother, a widow, a friend. Someone who smiles as she opens her door.